So you go into reception, and then there were offices and a big file room. And then you go down, there were more offices, and more offices, then a kitchen and dining area. Still had pews, it had the altar and everything in there. So as far as I know, people were still getting married in that chapel as well. You could actually walk down the stairs, and that's where the bowling area was. So there was a bar and the bowls club, and then the entrance to the squash court.
A couple of people, Alan and Marion and Fairweather, and both of them are no longer with us, unfortunately. And they, they were famous for their cheese toasties.
No, the best toasted sandwiches, the Fairweather sandwiches.
I was very much aware of the fact that everything a deaf person did, I was involved in, or Bill was involved in. Whether it was going to the bank and doing withdrawing money, or having marriage problems, or we knew everything about the deaf. And I think some of the deaf people must have resented that. Deaf people weren't allowed on staff. Even relatives of deaf people weren't allowed on staff.
To a large extent, certainly the board at that time didn't have a real awareness of deaf people's life experience. And I think just couldn't identify with it.
the Deaf Society had gone through some extremely difficult financial situations. I believe most of it was to do with trying to give people everything they wanted. So every year there'd be a deficit. In those days it was probably, for example, $360,000 deficit. That's like millions of dollars today. So they had to sell off an asset to pay for that deficit in order to keep going. Anne McRae joined the Deaf Society. The first thing she did was get some government funding to have independent reviews. So I think it was KPMG came and they did like a financial audit. They looked at all the assets, the financial records for a few years, and it was very, very bleak.
So I think she really got them to sit up and think, oh my God, we can't continue having these deficits, because if we do, and we're talking hundreds of thousands, if we do, the Deaf Society is going to go out backwards. And so she came up with the corporate plan in 1989. It's not as though there were any protests or a sense of a group forming and trying to prevent the sale, which has happened in other states. Again, it's about that power imbalance that occurs between hearing people and deaf people, and you know, in the main it is difficult for deaf people to fight against a change that they don't like, because they don't necessarily have the skills to do that effectively when they're competing with people that are working in the business world, as a lot of, say, the board of directors are. In selling Stanmore, it was really there was three components of it. One was the move from Stanmore to office, move from Stanmore to Parramatta, then the move from the hostel and the nursing home, so the moving of those residents to Malorna Village and also to a nursing home in Parramatta, and then the third part being the Deaf Social Club. And there was the promises and I think genuine commitment that a another deaf club would be set up. But again, unrealistic expectations of that, well, deaf people are going to have management responsibility for it, and the Deaf Society will support it in its initial phases, but with the expectation that deaf people will take over in the long run. Now, certainly why the Deaf Society chose to move west was because the majority of the deaf population is in the west. There's no question about that.
To me, I like to think the Parramatta office is functional and friendly. I think it's a bit more professional than how we worked at Stanmore. That balance of having a professional office and professional standards and etiquette, but still being warm and having the community. Because I believe once you've lost the community-based focus, just close up shop.